Today we're gonna compare landing on the moon in Kerbal Space Program and landing on the moon in Juno. Hello everybody and welcome. This is a sort of double tutorial for two games, how to build a rocket that can land on the moon. First we need a capsule, then we put a parachute on, now we do the heat shield. Now we choose a decoupler, we choose the 1.2 meter size decoupler. Why am I doing this step by step? Well, the reason for this is I did a moon tutorial way back for Kerbal Space Program. People were complaining that I rushed through a lot of steps. So here I'm doing it all the way. Yeah, after the decoupler we add the first fuel tank, then we add the engine, and this is going to be our lander stage and also our return. We're not going to do an Apollo style thing, we're gonna land this and then return it back. All right. And yeah, we're going to do something similar with Juno. If you're already a complete expert in Kerbal Space Program, you can skip this to about the 5-minute mark, roughly, when we're going to launch this, and to, let's say, I think it's 12 minutes or something, depending on how I'm going to cut this after doing the voiceover for Juno. Okay, now we got that out of the way. If you are a fan of space games like KSP or Juno or something else, tell me in the comment if it's something else. Please subscribe to this channel for more of this type of content. And in the meantime, we have put on our landing legs. Now we are going to add some solar cells, well, solar panels actually, for power generation, and some power cells. If you're wondering why my game parts look a bit different from yours, that's because I'm currently experimenting with a bunch of visual mods, and this has the restock mod on my game instance. Alright, now that we got the first couple of things out of the way, let's head to our transfer stage. We're going to have to use something that is able to deliver us to the moon from our home planet Kerbal. That's why I'm going to just go with this adapter tank that goes from 1.25 meters to 2.5 meters. And I'm going to add the Tidal engine there because it's very efficient in a vacuum, and that's going to help us a lot to conserve fuel or have more energy available to perform our maneuvers. You can see I have Kerbal Engineer Redux installed that tells us the delta V, the amount of basically maneuver energy that we have on the readout. And what we're going to need is we're going to need roughly, let's say, 800 meters per second of delta V to land on the moon, and roughly the same thing to return, and then about 300 meters per second to return to Kerbal. So everything in the first stage, the lander should be, well, it was the last stage actually, the lander should be fine to do so if we manage to get to the moon with our translunar injection stage, sort of. Okay, now that we got that done, we are going to do the main booster. And yeah, it's going to be basically a single stage to orbit type of vehicle. We're using the largest 2.5 meter tank and the mainsail engine. And that should give us, according to the readouts, we're not going to completely reach orbit with this, but there is enough delta V in the tank of that injection stage so that we can circularize first and then proceed to the moon. Okay, I'm playing around with the optical variants of that engine. Now I'm adding some fins for stabilization. Actually, it's control surfaces, they can move and direct the airflow, and some launch clamps so this thing does not fall over. And of course, the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to check our staging. Yes, on the right-hand side, we're going to order a bit around. I like to put decouplers and engines in the same stage so I don't have too many stages and don't have to press the spacebar all the time. So yeah, this looks ready to go. So I guess we're going to give this a name. We'll call it Simple Mun 1 because we're going to the Mun or Moon or Moon. Tell me how you call it in the comments. And then here we go, we're launching this little stubby rocket. This is going to be a fast forward through the ascent through the atmosphere. Basically, I'm just speeding up the video because otherwise it would take too long. I mean, it's already a very long video, so yeah, bear with me. unless you have already skipped the chapter to the Juno part if that interests you more. We're now basically in the upper parts of the atmosphere. We spent our booster and we're using our second stage, our basically transfer stage, to finish the burn and do the circularization. And then we should have enough left to perform our maneuver to the moon. Alright, so we don't want to run out of fuel. Well, we don't want to run out of fuel, but we also don't want to run out of electricity. So we're going to activate the solar panels. And now we just do the circularization. I'm using the precise maneuver mod to make things easier. You can just press one button and it calculates what you need to do to perform a circularization burn, but it doesn't do it for you. This is not complete autopilot or something. Alrighty then, the camera wobbles, signifying that we have actually a valid periapsis around our planet. And then we raise that until we have like about 70-75 kilometers above sea level on both sides of our orbit. Now we're going to need about 850 to 900 meters per second of delta V to get to the moon. And usually I kind of aim on a maneuver that it would start when the moon is above sort of the horizon, so if you would look eastward. And then I pull the prograde vector until it's about 850-900 meters per second of delta V, and then I move it around until I hit a periapse around the moon. And this looks promising. I'm just doing some fine adjustments, because I really want to get close to the surface so I can profit from the moon's gravity. And we're off. Right, so this is the maneuver we're going to perform. We're almost done. I usually cut the engines shortly before we're done with the maneuver and really do fine adjustments with just a low throttle setting. What I want to reach is about, let's say, 20 kilometers above the lunar surface, but we're taking 49 in this case. Okay, there it is, that ball of rock that we're going to visit for no other reason than to just do it. Okay, what you can see here is that I'm going to reduce my thrust level, so I have really precise control over how much I'm going to thrust. I mean, I'm going to thrust radially in. The reason for that is when I thrust radially in, it will lower my periapse, and that's what I'm doing now, and we're below 20 kilometers of altitude above the moon when we hit our lowest point of the trajectory, and that's where we're going to do our burn to get circularized around the moon. And here, whoa, we get, well, it's not like it is a solar eclipse, but it's the other way around. The planet is eclipsing the sun in front of the moon, and not the moon is eclipsing the sun like we are used to it on the Earth. So, yeah, any astronomy experts of you out there that can tell me if this happens a lot on our moon? Like, does the Earth blot out the sun more often than the moon blots out the sun for us? I don't know, so if you know, please tell me in the comments. Okay. We have done everything we can with the transfer stage. We already let that go away. And now I'm doing the descent burn. What you see here is I had these waypoint markers, and I tried to aim my landing site close to it because I thought maybe there's something interesting there. There wasn't, so that's not something we're going to see in this video because it really wasn't any interesting thing. Right, and we have landed successfully on the moon. And yeah, of course, we get out, we do some maneuvering, we do some exploring, we can plant a flag, we can gather some science, you know, the usual stuff you do in Kerbal Space Program. And now that that is all done, it is time to get back. So what I want to do is lift off a little bit and then head eastwards and hit like almost a flat trajectory, because there's no atmosphere we have to punch through, and we really want to get into a stable orbit around the moon. And the easiest way to do so is this. And the funny thing is, since I was already on the side facing Kerbin, I decided to not do a full orbit, but do a direct return trajectory. And since we were low on fuel, that was probably a good idea. Because, as you can see here, after that maneuver we only had a measly 79 meters per second of delta V left, so woo! That was cutting it close, and yeah, but, well, we made it. We still have some room to maneuver, so to speak. But this was basically the mission. Now what we're going to do, of course, is we're going to time warp forward. We get to our home planet. Look at that. All the other visual mods, like Black Rack's Volumetric Cloud mod, I think it's an older version, Scatterer, and yeah, I think I have a couple of other things also running, but I forgot which they are. Alright. Now that we are entering the atmosphere, it's time to separate from our lander. And what I also do here is separate it in such a way that the lander gets kind of a little bit away from the capsule, because as you can see here, due to all the parts sticking out of it, like the solar panels, etc., it has a lot more drag than this capsule, and it would have bumped into us, and we do not want that. What we do want is for our parachute to deploy, which it does right here, and with this our mission is completed. Alright, now to try the same thing in Juno. I'm starting again with a capsule. I'm going to put a parachute on there and then a heat shield. Yeah, what I miss in Juno is like there is a modifier in KSP where you hit like the Alt key and then it would only attach to a node and not to the radial surface. Maybe something like this exists in Juno. I haven't found it yet. Okay, we don't have the couplers here. We have interstages, or one interstage, and this basically acts as a decoupler. You can, since everything is procedural in Juno, adjust its size and height, and then we're going to add the fuel tank. So yeah, also the same basic design will apply here. A capsule, a fuel tank, an engine, and yeah, an engine. Which engine? What I don't see here is, I see the mass of the engine, I see the price of the engine. What I don't see here is size. This is a bit of a bigger one. I don't see the fuel type. I don't see the ISP or the thrust at sea level or at vacuum level, etc. And that was a bit of a frustrating experience because, well, just a little bit frustrating because I did not really know, okay, which one should I take? You saw me try a lot of engines out here. And also what I would really like is if we could extend tanks that already have an engine attached or something else simply. Maybe there is an option with some slider thingy or something, but yeah, I would have preferred just dragging it like I did here, or have like, again, a modifier while I hold it down, then I can use my mouse to drag it or something. I'm playing around here with the parameters of this engine to make it a little bit smaller and maybe a bit more efficient. We currently have like 3 kilometers per second of delta V. I think that should be enough. I really don't know. I have no idea about delta V requirements of any planets or moons in Juno. We're going to go on a journey of discovery. You and me, everyone. And these landing legs look cool, don't they? Let's take those for a spin. Or a flight? Let's see. Okay, 4x symmetry. And yeah, this looks quite okay in my opinion, and it's high up enough so we don't damage our engine nozzle. Well, maybe just drag it down a little bit to be on the safe side. Of course, we also need some power here, so I'm going to add some batteries. Again, with the 4x symmetry, so that we can have enough of those. Symmetry works different than Kerbal Space Program. Kerbal Space Program, you decide what symmetry you want, and then you add the part. Here you add the part, and then you can, while it is selected, press the X key, and it will change the symmetry that it uses. So yeah, a little bit of backwards way of thinking, but it works. What does work is also modifying solar panels. You don't have to have that 3x3 design or 3x4 or 4x whatever. You can add as many panels, as many rows, as many whatever you want. You can change the fold angle, the size, the deploy speed. A lot of tweakability in this game. Again, in interstage, we use the sliders to adapt it to the size of our engine. And yeah, I'm playing around a little bit with how it could look like. There's this Soyuz style, which is fun. But we're not building a Soyuz, we're just building a plain old moon rocket. And no Soyuz ever went to the moon. Okay, similar design as with in Kerbal Space Program. I'm doing this slanted type, and that's a big engine. Maybe I'm not going to use that. Maybe I'm going to use this. I'm not sure. I'm really not familiar with the engines in Juno. And yeah, the menu information does not really tell me a lot that helps me make a good decision. There is like, okay, this engine is ideal for this and that, but I don't want text, I don't want prose, I want data. I want like, okay, what's its ISP? What's its ISP in vacuum? What's it on sea level? What's it thrust at sea level? And so on. Maybe a size indicator, because this one, look at that, that was way too big. Even with the so-called smaller engine, we still have a thrust-to-weight ratio of 3.45, which is way enough. So I decided to make the tank bigger, so we have more delta V available on this stage. I don't even have any idea what the delta V requirements to reach orbit around the home planet is in Juno. So yeah, it's going to be interesting if this even reaches orbit. And same as in KSP, we're going to add some fins there, so we have a little bit more of stabilization going on. Foreshadowing. Yeah, the procedural thing is nice, as I said to you in my previous video. And what you can also do is, well, get wild with the colors. But where do we actually go? Because in KSP, we have two moons around our home planet, the Moon and Minmus. Here we have TT, Brigo, and Luna. So Brigo is the innermost, Luna is the second, as the one you can see here, and TT is the outermost. This here is Brigo. It looks like a cross between a rocky version of Jupiter and Mimas, or Mimas, whatever you want to call it, and TT is basically just an asteroid? Alright. So let's launch this sucker. We're going to Luna. First off, because it looks like the moon, and actually Luna is the Latin word for moon. So yeah, let's just do that. And it looks the most similar to the moon in KSP. And yeah, I said I had added those fins for stabilization reasons. I don't know really why, but unless I used that gizmo thing here, I wasn't really able to have a stable flight with this design, and I had it out way too far. Again! That's why we had to do it again, and this time I have that maneuver gizmo on, and things went a lot more smoothly, as you can see here. So, since you've already seen a lot of rockets rising above the surface and burning their fuel, etc., I decided to skip through some of the steps. We now have a valid apoapse, about 110 kilometers above sea level. I think the atmosphere on Droo starts at around 90 kilometers, or 80 something. It's above 70, I know that much. But yeah, 100 should be safe. I think all the Juno experts that know the game a lot better than me are now screaming in their chairs how I cannot know that. I'm sorry guys, the intention of these videos is to take everyone along on the ride of me learning how to play Juno in comparison to KSP. I really don't want to have any tutorials, I don't want to have anyone holding my hand, I want to figure things out myself. And maybe help somebody who also struggles with it along the way. And we're performing now our circularization burn. I really would like to see the engine plumes a little bit better here. And what I also would like to see is the thrust to weight and delta V measurements in map view, because you don't see them in map view. You have to switch back to flight view. So yeah, that's a bit of an inconsistency in information displayed to the user. I think since we can have all these panels, it should be like a no-brainer to have that in there somewhere. And what you can see here, similar to the precise maneuver mod in Kerbal Space Program, you can fine-tune your maneuvers here in Juno, and it's built in the stock game. You can see on the top end of the screen how my future trajectory will look like. I don't have to focus on the moon, or on Luna in this case, and then look what the trajectory is going to be in relation to the celestial body, because Juno just shows it from the start. Okay, we're using the automatic burn thing, so basically I'm flying with maneuver autopilot in Juno. It's built in, it's the leftmost icon here in map view, the one that's activated blue. Speaking of blue, the sun has a blue tint in Juno. It makes everything look a little bit cold, but that's just my opinion. What do you think about it? While we unfold our solar panel, my opinion of the graphics of Juno is that in some instances, they are very much comparable to KSP2 in some regards, in others not so much. But yeah, what's your take on that? I mean, I'm not really a fan of the skybox. It looks a little bit too busy, and I'm not sure if that's what you actually see when you're in space. Yeah, since unfortunately I haven't been to space yet, really would like to do so. I can't really comment on the realism of the skybox. Okay, again, I'm going to do the radial in burn. I haven't found an option to just click on the radial in marker and orient my ship that way, like I do in KSP. So I don't know, maybe this is something that the Juno developers can think about for people coming from KSP to make them feel more at home. Now we get our encounter and our maneuver with Luna, and we're going to burn again. Now already with the lander, because yeah, I think I did not pack enough propellant for this mission. We're going to soldier on nevertheless. We're going to see how far we can get with this and how much is missing, because if I know how much is missing, then I know how much I need to add and don't have to do it 5 times or something. Eagle-eye viewers might have seen if when I clicked on the trajectory to do a maneuver, it offered me multiple options to where I can set the maneuver. I can do it right there where I clicked. I can do it on the peri-apse, at the apo-apse, at the ascending node, or at the descending node, or I can just warp there. That's really a nice feature, and yeah, some interesting things in Juno that make it better or more palatable than KSP, and some other things where I think, why did you do that? For instance, as I said, you see me here switching around between map view and flight view because I needed to know how much delta V I have left, how much the thrust to weight ratio is, etc. Now I have another maneuver where I kill almost all my horizontal velocity. The idea is that I kind of decide on a landing spot and then just have a vertical descent. It makes things easier, and some have claimed it might even be more efficient. I don't know. Okay, we're heading down to the surface. This is all looking good, and touchdown! We have landed on Luna without any incident, and we have, well, how much delta V do we have left? 980 meters per second. That's not a lot, if I'm being honest. I don't think it's enough to get back up on the surface and then back to Droo, where this Drood came from. If you're wondering about the crosshair in front of him, that's actually for the tether. You can shoot tethers with Droods, and they can attach to what you shoot at. Yeah, not really yet sure why I would want to do that, but yeah, sounds like fun, maybe, to attach them to something. Okay, how do I get back in? Well, I jump back up, I move to the capsule, I selected the capsule, and there is an enter option, and we're already in. So no searching for the hatch and trying to hit the B key on time to get in, like in Kerbal Space Program. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Does it make things too easy? Let me know in the comments what you think about this difference. Again, similar to KSP, I'm going to do a very flat ascent, just get above the surface so I don't hit any mountainous features, and then burn as flat as I can. And also again 90-degree orientation, so I'm heading eastward for an easier time. You can see the engine burning. Yeah, the effects are of course not as nice as either in KSP with mods or in Kerbal Space Program 2. It's basically just an orange cone and a bright light inside the nozzle. And as you can see here, we're raising our apoaps and we only have 213 meters per second of delta V left. That's not going to be enough. We already assumed as much, but now we definitely know as much. But how much do we need now that we have performed that type of trajectory? How much do we still need to get into a stable orbit? Well, less than 30 meters per second, so that's good. So we were quite efficient here. I skipped forward to that burn and performed it. And now we're in a stable orbit around Luna. And now let's try to see how much we would need to get back home. Planning the maneuver here. And we are burning away, or we plan to burn away. We're already at 320 meters per second, roughly. Now we get an encounter with Brigo. 400 meters per second of delta V needed to get there. Well, that's not gonna fly. Again. Yes, we need to do it again. This time I've enhanced the rocket in such a way that I stretched the main stage and I stretched the transfer stage. With this we should have way enough fuel to perform everything we need to do. We now have 4,000 meters per second of delta V left. And yeah, we made it easily to the moon, even were able to already perform our descent burn a little bit. And yeah. Are we sure this is not Kerbal Space Program? Because this is all too familiar. Yeah. Landing on the wrong spot and having way too much inclination on or way too much of an incline on the place where you want to put down your lander, and then having to find another spot and burning a lot of delta V in the process. I mean, we still have more than 2 kilometers, more than 2,000 meters of delta V left, so that should be actually way enough to get us back up and also on our way home. Okay, burning and landing and trying to get things done. Is this okay? Not quite. Yeah. Here something came into play that, well, engines in Juno don't simply cut off when you hit the X key or set the throttle to 0. It takes a while for the throttle to sort of spin down, and also the same goes for when you throttle up. It's not immediate. It's not like the binary thrust of Kerbal Space Program where you have like 0 to everything in a millisecond. Engines in Juno need to spin up in order for them to actually reach their full throttle. So that's closer to how the real world works. But of course, this, as you can see here, should not happen in the real world, and it should also not work. The moon dust would rip the lander apart when we would slide alongside it like we do here. Yeah, we're destroying the solar panel that's already on the floor. The other one is on the other side, so it should be safe. Whoa! Well, we're in the air now. Well, in the air, there's no air here, but we were above the surface, and now we can perform our ascent burn. Yeah, I think this was the most Kerbal thing I experienced in Juno so far. And with this, it is time to head back up. We got our apoapse at almost 90 kilometers. We need to circularize that. I always mess that word up. And once we did that, we just perform our burn to get back to Droo. Okay, this is what we're doing now, and just a little bit of a view of the engine burning. As I said, it's just a bright circle. Doesn't really look like an engine burning, unfortunately. Yeah, Juno is really lacking in the visuals department in some cases, but the basic parts, the basic vehicles under the right lighting look rather nice. As I said, you could compare it to how KSP2 looks in some regards. And now we already see our planet. We're going to orient ourselves retrograde, so we can focus our craft, our vehicle, to either retrograde or prograde, or towards the maneuver or towards the target. But we can't orient it or lock it to radial in, radial out, or ascending or descending node. Or maybe we can, and I haven't found that option yet. If it exists, please tell me in the comments, because I might be stupid. Okay, again, a nighttime maneuver. Yeah, we had a lot of them in this video, unfortunately. You just saw the solar panel being ripped off. I'm trying to burn a little bit of fuel to lower our velocity, to make things maybe a little easier. And we see that the solar panel is taking heat damage, even though it's no longer attached. So that information is not really as valuable as you might think. And yeah, this is what I meant when we were at the KSP portion of the video, that you should orient your lander away from your trajectory when you separate from it, because otherwise this happens and now I can't turn back to retrograde and I'm going to die. Again. So we have to do that again. Yeah, I think some of you have missed all of the again cries that were present in my older videos a lot, when we did a lot more of these missions and a lot less talk about how the development of Kerbal Space Program 2 was messed up. Speaking of that, I'm going to plan to release a deep dive into what was going on with multiplayer in KSP2, so make sure you subscribe to that. Maybe I'm going to release that even next week. Not sure yet, but stay tuned. Alright, we have a good shoot. We're going to land, or splash down rather, because we're above an ocean. And with that, our moon mission and our experiment in Kerbal Space Program versus Juno ended. What do you think about that? Let me know in the comments. And if you really want to support what I do, you could head over to Patreon or onto the YouTube membership page and join this channel. And if you select one of the higher tiers, like some of these wonderful folks did, your name will show up here right next to them. I'm running out of space here, so yeah, gonna have to add a second page or something. Thanks everyone for supporting my channel, and while the Droo is flipping around and getting back to the capsule, we are now done. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel for more and follow me on my social thingies. The links are in the description. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.